kind of see where they're at. If it's not an academic environment, some of the guard is down with regard to the relationship.
Because the game is so open-ended, you can do some like science experiment simulations, some history lessons, which is really cool.
With what? With Minecraft?
Yeah.
And it might be, you know, as we think about how we're designing things, especially for us with the spread of our service population, like we should design for remote first. I'm excited though, because this is our 1 o'clock session, our last session. We saved the best for last. Dr. Alan Barris is here. We're going to talk about, I guess, what are we doing? Student activities, esports, extracurricular type stuff. Alex, help me out, because I'm done paying attention to documents.
We are doing student activities.
Yep. Sweet. So yeah, Mike Jacobs, you're good on this. Alan, you're good on this. I don't know anybody else out there interested in talking about, you know, student activities, specifically some of the stuff that I'm involved with when we were, you know, face to face was just getting esports off the ground. Alex, you were right there as well. Alan, you were doing Dungeons and Dragons every Wednesday night on campus. That had to shift. Lots of shifting, lots of things going on. But I think, you know, as I mentioned on Monday, I think when we were talking about design thinking, Stephen Johnson's books on innovation and things like that, a lot of innovation comes from play. And we've done some playing here with student activities that I think there's lessons that we could probably port over into some of our other things. But just for the sake of having fun, Alan, do you want to introduce yourselves and maybe let people know some of the stuff that you've got going on in the virtual interaction space?
Yep. Hello, everyone. My name's Alan Barris. I'm a composition and speech instructor here at Northwest State. I have been acting along with Vanderpool as the kind of co-advisor of the game club here. Mike's been handling the esports side and the video game side primarily, and I've been handling the role-playing game group. Unfortunately, we were right on the verge of getting multiple tables running when COVID-19 hit, and everything got thrown out pretty much at that point. I had a regular Wednesday night session that I was running, I think all with members who were pretty active in the video game and esports side of the club as well. And we ended up going fully online, which turned out to be actually pretty easy. I've been running my a group of my high school players, as in legitimately we met in high school and we have been playing for 30 some years now. We just recently, as in the last 2 years ago or so, we started up a new campaign and we were playing. And we've been using some virtual tools that were pretty useful to us. We ended up using Google Hangouts primarily there. And we used a program called Fantasy Grounds too, which is a virtual tabletop system. And Mike, can you give me permission to share my screen here?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. You should be able to.
Okay. So let me give this a try here. All right, so this is what we've got here. See it? Yep, I see I'm screen sharing. So what we've got here is a system that allows us to track where everybody is, and it also automates die rolls. It automates any number of the things that you can do sitting at a role-playing game table. So we've used this for Dungeons and Dragons primarily. That was our original game, and I'll go ahead and stop sharing. And we ended up shifting over to a couple new games this last couple of weeks. I'm taking a break from Dungeons and Dragons over the summer because I've been running it a lot. Some new stuff now, and the virtual system seems to be working pretty well, and it's a good way to keep track of some of my players. You guys already talked to Hunter Boer earlier in this conference, and he's one of my players, and he's been going through some stuff, as I think he alluded to in his discussion. So it's been a good way to keep track of him and the other players in the group, just to make sure that, hey, we're all kind of still on board and we're still participating and stuff. It's been a nice normalizing thing for me. I have actually been doing really well during this time period because introvert, but then on top of that, I also have been maintaining the few social contacts that I do feel like I really need to maintain really nicely through playing and through keeping track on Google Hangouts. And we also use Discord because one of the issues you might be running into, by the way, a lot of our students don't have access to microphones and things like that either. So if they're in a busy household, lots of stuff going on, they're not able to shut out all the noise around them. It can be a big distraction for everybody. So we ended up going with Discord instead, which is all audio connection. And it's been sufficient to play with the tabletop, keeping track of everything in the meantime. So yeah, it's been nice, and I think we've made some pretty good progress as far as getting the players used to playing remotely, and I think it might help them in online stuff as well. They're starting to adapt to that kind of thing. I still don't think Hunter's quite ready for that online math yet, but we'll see. I think he can be persuaded eventually.
Well, I think that's cool, right? Because just that once a week check-in with people.
Yeah.
Kind of see where they're at. If it's not an academic environment, some of the guard is down with regard to the relationship, and maybe a little bit more forthcoming with some of the things that are bothering people or places they could use some guidance.
Yeah, and I fielded some questions about the school and what's going on as far as we know and that sort of thing as well. So it's been it's been nice. I mean, my only complaint is that that COVID, well, among other piles of complaints with COVID itself, that COVID derailed the possibility of running other tables at this point. I had two other folks who were running. Mike Kwiatkowski from over in engineering was actually running a daytime game, and that got killed. I mean, I had to practically beg him to start running it to begin with, and it's just it's been too much of a mess for him to keep up at this point. And unfortunately, it was actually student run, and unfortunately that kind of fell apart too. But luckily, I got the DM of that session playing in my group now, so Teresa's not on her own anymore. She's supported.
The thing that's interesting, Alan, you mentioned being an introvert, right?
Yep.
You want to talk about a group of introverts? When I was helping, and I don't think Eric Ward's been on today, but Eric Ward's been in all this week in Software Guild boot camp space. Bunch of software developers or people training to be software developers, fairly introverted at times.
Yeah.
They used to do a weekly game night, and that turned into kind of some of the things that we would try to do here on campus. You with D&D, me with game club, doing like Lego build party, other things like that. I mean, an idea that we have outside of just the esports and what you're doing with some of the role playing stuff. Alex, I legitimately think we got to find a way to get a Minecraft server somehow, some way. I mean, I don't know how that works or how you would do that, but what do you think?
It's easier than you think. If I can do it, anyone can do it.
I mean, so what would you do? What would students or even faculty, anybody do on a Minecraft server? I don't even know how it works.
Whatever the hell you want.
Well, that's a little dangerous. I don't want to.
So what we did is what Mike's referencing to is over. I think it was the first month of this. Myself, Josiah Stottlemyre, Spencer Sunderland, and my brother, we just started a Minecraft server. It was quite random.
And what is a Minecraft server? Just
So if you've ever played Minecraft before, it's like a 3D sandbox game. You can build with blocks. You can do certain challenges. It's an open world, kind of do your own thing. And when you're running it on a server, So typically, if I want to play with Mike without a server, I invite him to come to something that's hosted on my computer. But if I'm not playing on that, Mike can't come play with me. The beauty of a server is it is turned on 24/7. There were quite literally nights where my brother and I were on that server until 2 o'clock in the morning, and then Spencer Sunderland drops on at 2 o'clock in the morning, and right when we're leaving, and he starts playing. So it's kind of, you can hop on when you want, play as long as you want, and it's not really dependent upon anyone. And the fact that no one's dependent upon everyone makes it really fun to see, like, if you have one server, how it grows, how people, because everyone's on their own schedule, so everyone can do it as they want. So it is a fun thing. After a month, we kind of beat the game, so we were kind of like, okay, well, we'll do this again some other time. So now we're playing Minecraft Dungeons, which just came out last week. It's a Minecraft style dungeon crawler. We're already obsessed with that as well. But you want to set up a server, Robert Duncan would be 1,000% up for it.
You think so?
Oh, yes. He's the reason we are working on Hilltop. So Minecraft has a product called Education Edition, which, because the game is so open-ended, you can do some like science experiment simulations, some history lessons, which is really cool.
With what? With Minecraft?
Yeah, they have integrated curriculum. But the only reason we're really doing it is because I would like an excuse to have my own hosted Minecraft server at Hilltop. So that's something we're potentially working on. But
I just asked Robert. We'll see if we've got it up by the end of this session.
If he's up for it, let me know. I'd love to do that. But
go ahead.
Well, I think the reason we picked Minecraft, I've played Minecraft for 13 years, so I wasn't really like expecting to find a new experience. But I think just when we were trying to stay in touch with each other socially, when we're trying to keep that connection, an open-ended game like that helps. Because like we were playing, but like half the time when we're playing, we're talking about just the randomness. Like we're talking about what we're doing at Tech Talk Initiative. We're talking about how our online classes are going. Like it really was a vehicle for just keeping up those social connections, which I think it doesn't have to be Minecraft. It could be anything, like Dungeons and Dragons. It could be anything as long as you're keeping that connection. So.
Yeah, and I don't know what's out there with regards to research in the space, but I've got to guess anecdotally, people feel more disconnected in online educational environments socially than they do in face-to-face. I mean, there's probably studies out there that say, oh yeah, duh. But I think this is a great way. Things like this tools are great ways for us to build some of that social stuff outside of the classroom. I mentioned earlier, the bad movie night thing that I did. So I did this exact Zoom setup call here, shared my screen like you would anything else. But I had a YouTube video playing in the background. There's a little button so you can share your computer audio. And we sat there and we watched a movie. And Alan, I think you were there for at least for probably the room over in the chat. I mean, if you sit there watching a movie with other people, it's technically not a lot of talking going on because we're trained not to do that. But over in the chat, man, these students, they're hilarious. They're people coming out of their shell. Those are definitely a really cool experience.
Yeah. And I will say with the Minecraft, we did start streaming, and it was kind of that effect too. I don't know if all of you have met Spencer. Very quiet, laid back. Those of you who know him know what I'm talking about. Very quiet, laid back, professional. We were screaming like bloody murder while trying to beat some of the Minecraft bosses. And I've never seen that side of him. And it was almost freeing in a way to kind of just be like, we're all just a bunch of crazy kids trying to socialize and keep connected, but also trying to have fun. So yeah, I think that stuff like that and the bad movie night really brings out good sides to people.
Well, Keith, are you out there? Keith,
yeah, I joined a little bit late, but I've been listening.
Well, so you're connected all over the place, right? And you've been Zooming and WebExing and all this other stuff as part of your life forever, right?
Yep.
What are some of the activities, things that are going on maybe in outside of academia that we might be able to borrow from for connecting people socially?
Yeah, I mean, certainly the game playing, right? So there's a lot of that happens, while you're playing the game, you're also talking about other stuff. That's just, that's what kids do together.
Mhm.
For in the more professional things, right? There's like knitting, like what do people do to hang out together? They find a common interest like knitting and quilting, and they hang out together, and while they're knitting and quilting, they're doing a lot of other stuff besides knitting and quilting, right? They're
Mhm.
talking about they're just dealing with stressful things and so on. And so, so those are popping up, right? There's knitting circles online now, right? um, and then if you want to see it exploded, right, then you go to meetup.com, and you create an account there, and you say that you're in, you say that you live near Toledo, and there'll be all sorts of groups that you could join, just with a common interest, right? And originally that was all online things. So it'd be like, if you like to go hiking, then you join the Toledo area hikers group on meetup.com, and you go on hikes with people, right, that you wouldn't have met otherwise, or Facebook groups or whatever. And all those are now just basically online versions of it. So you
Mhm.
might you might join the hikers group to just talk about hiking this time, right? If you can't actually leave the house. um, so I think it's, people have been getting together socially forever. There's just new versions of it. There's some technology involved now.
Awesome. There's some good stuff going on over in the chat there. Yeah, Lucy, that's a great idea. Like a book club, right? Like any reason we can have to get people together to talk about things. And even if that's not, the main focus 100% of the time, that's not the point, right? We're one little thing that brings us together that we start to share and do stuff. So Amy, I'm kind of curious, you've been on the internet for forever, or as long as the internet's probably been a thing. What are some of the things that you've run into maybe that we might be able to glean from?
Thank you for calling me old.
No, Amy, I'm calling the internet young. The internet is young. That's what I was saying there.
No, actually, strangely enough, I am exactly to the day 2 months younger than email. So the first email was sent out 2 months to the day before I was born. So when I used to use myself for students and say, you can look at me and see exactly how old the internet is. And they would all laugh and say, but you're old. I'm like, yeah, so's the internet now. So sit down and shut up. Really, the whole idea that what happens online is about community that's the core of Once It Escaped ARPANET. I mean, my first account was a friend of my dad's had a college link into, there were like at that point 8 colleges in Ohio that had their own point-to-point links. And dad got me an email address to them, which came with a login to their bulletin board system. And I probably spent the first year of my internet life doing nothing but trading dirty gifts. Don't even ask. We can talk about the currency of the early internet later. And posting recipes. Because the 2 bulletin boards where I wanted to be, one, the currency was dirty pictures. And the other was, the currency was, if you posted a recipe, you got access to other parts of the community. So this is actually, the internet constantly forgets that it's for people to be together, and constantly remembers it in a new form and a new way and a new method. What we're seeing is we just accelerated one of the cycles with this whole COVID thing.
Mm-hmm. Online cooking nights. Yeah, why not, right? Like everybody in their kitchen with you'd have to get a good stand for your phone, right? Or your laptop or something. Jacobs, you should do a barbecue show. That'd be kind of fun. You ever watch Steven Reichland on PBS?
Oh yeah, I love that dude.
Oh man, that'd be some fun stuff, right?
Yeah, I've actually thought about that when this first went down, and I was doing, I was posting pictures of like meats and stuff that I was curing and all of that, like way back. I thought about doing some kind of a thing, but I didn't know the technology well enough to feel comfortable doing it. But certainly moving forward, Yeah, I mean that would be awesome. And then yeah, getting students to connect with the Zoom, and then kind of rotating and maybe doing different I don't know, different courses. You could do appetizers and the main course and dessert over like an hour, and I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of a cool. And you know, like Lucy said, with the book side, I know a lot of you have heard me talk already, but I do student activities here at the college, and so that was a big pivot, obviously, for us, not only on the career services side with having to rethink how we're going to connect our graduates with our employers, but also how are we going to keep our students connected. And the 2 o'clock Governor DeWine updates happened right away, and then like a week later, Northwest State, like some of our union leadership or our faculty leadership, they put together a town hall, and then from that, Vanderpool and I talked, and we're like, well, why don't we do one of these things with just our learners? I'll host it. We won't invite really any employees. We'll just invite students. That way they feel safe and comfy, and you know, like they can talk. And we've been doing that for, gosh, 9 weeks, 8 weeks, probably 8 weeks at this point. And we've since evolved that into a thing we call Campus Conversations. So every Monday night at 6 o'clock, I open up a chat. We send a link out during the day, inviting our learners, and then we start our show. It's 30 minutes. I host it. It's conversation, discussion. Hey, I got an email and I didn't understand this, or I heard from a classmate that we're able to do this now, and so we were able to kind of dispel some rumors, share some really, really good, just kind of foundation housekeeping things for students to be aware of, and then again, just continue to reassure them we're here, we're available. Any questions, we have the ability to help you through the rest of the spring semester. Took a couple weeks off, and now we're doing a summer version. So we're inviting all of our summer learners, and we've been connecting with CCP students that just graduated from high school that are matriculating to us in the fall, but they've maybe never been on our campus because they've always been taught maybe at their high school, or maybe they were homeschooled students. And so they have a lot of questions. And so we're able to just really have just what we are all doing now. We're able to do that with our students and put that humanity side to it. They see our living. I know this is going back to like the maybe the 11 o'clock session, but they start to see us as kind of vulnerable and learning with them and accessible, and I think that kind of mitigates their anxiety and their fear too. So that's kind of what I've been doing from our end. But yeah, any ideas like cooking shows or book whatever, that would be an awesome thing to get rolling for the fall, and we can continue that even after we come back to campus.
So lots of good stuff over in the chat. We'll make sure that gets shared eventually. All the stuff's going to get shared eventually. So yeah, yes.
So one thing we really need to bear in mind is anybody who's been involved in student activities on the Northwest State campus in particular can tell you the biggest problem we've experienced is students simply not being here. We have a substantial core of really bright and sometimes very engaged CCP students, and they have to run off after their classes, and for the most part, and we don't see them at campus events because we try and run most of our campus events in the afternoon or evening. So these students are already home. We have a hard time with our commuting students and the fact that they've got lives and families. And one of the things that we should do when we return to the new normal of on-campus stuff again, we really need to make sure that we are not neglecting the online side of it too, because not only can we grow our number of engaged students through the online activities, but we can probably get more people to the face-to-face stuff if we are clever about it and we keep doing a combination of the events. I mean, I think like bad movie night, I mean, we probably, so Vanderpool, correct me if I'm wrong, we probably had about the same participation overall with
Pretty
the
close.
online
Yeah.
ones
I mean,
compared
yeah.
to the face-to-face ones, at least the ones that weren't part of a class or anything
Yeah.
like
That I didn't force people to go to. Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, we didn't lose anybody, certainly. And I think we gained the ability to keep the commentary going while we were actually watching a movie. So, I mean, I think it's nice as an entirely separate deal. And I think we should definitely continue it.
And it might be, you know, as we think about how we're designing things, especially for us with the spread of our service population, like we should design for remote first. And then the face-to-face stuff just becomes then, obviously not everything, but certain specific things are designed to be ingested or participated in via remote. And then maybe face-to-face as a side add-on. Just like now, sometimes we design things face-to-face and the online feels like an add-on.
Yeah. I mean, the trick is getting people engaged. I mean, with online stuff, you can probably count on a little bit more participation if students hear about it. And
Yeah.
that's always the trick. I mean, with face-to-face, students might hear about it, but they might have to run away before the chili cook-off or something like that. They might not get they might not be actually be physically able to be there. So, I mean, I guess it's a balancing act. We try to promote more stuff online, and in turn, maybe we can get more face-to-face stuff going.
And this is just a dumb, silly idea. You mentioned chili cook-off, and I'm like, okay, how do you get people remotely involved in a chili cook-off? Maybe there's an online social media poll for best-looking chili. That's all done. Anybody, you know, I mean, I think get a couple crazy people together, maybe a cocktail or two, and you can come up with all kinds of ideas. Right, Lisa? See you at 4, Lisa. I don't know. What do you think, Lisa?
You know, I did a service learning community service project online with my students. I couldn't require them to go out and buy materials, but it was birdhouses for a local nonprofit here in Nature's Nursery. Out of 90 students, I had 45 go out and buy the materials and actually make them. I did a live stream, Channel 11 picked it up, BGSU ran with it. And then 3 days later, I got text messages and questions from the students that they wanted to do it with me. So we all turned on Facebook Live. I did it. And they were sitting there talking to me or commenting while I was physically doing it. They were doing it with their tools they had in their own house.
Yeah.
You know, it may not have been. And then when I made the bulk of them, when I made all 14 of them, I hand delivered them, but they made them and hang them out outside their houses or gave them to grandma, whatever. So, I mean, you know, still kind of like the same thing. You're making chili, but I'm sitting here doing a Zoom with you live stream and they're doing the same thing and they're sharing their screen. This is what I did. What do I need to do here? Why are you doing this? Why do you pre-drill holes? You can walk them through and still talk to them and they're there.
And I think all this stuff, right? If we do it right and appeal to remote learners, it's just a broader audience that we're able to serve. I mean, that's what this whole thing's really about, right? You know, thank you, everybody. Kara, especially you with the newborn hanging out this whole time. I mean, awesome. You know, good luck in the fall. If you have any questions about anything, more stuff's to come. Reach out. I kind of feel like I do. You know, when the semester ends, like. Once a student, always a student. Once part of this group, always part of this group. We're all kind of in this together trying to make stuff happen. So thank you, Kara, for spending some time with us. It's awesome. Lucy, same thing for you. I'm excited to see how you might be able to use some of this stuff going forward and some of the things you're going to try to pull off here with us at Northwest State. Excited for that for sure. And
I will, I'm going to jump in and interrupt you so you can have the final words, but I'm sure it's been said. But a huge thanks to you too, Mike, for putting all of this together. I know there was a ton of people that helped, but spearheading this, I remember us talking about this literally in March. And you said, hey, Jacobs, mark your calendar for the first week in June, because I think we have something that we really can collaborate with. So a huge thanks to you too, dude. Seriously, it's been great to connect with all of these new people and all of these familiar faces in a different format. So it's pretty cool. Thanks to you too, Mike.
Yeah, no problem. I'm just trying to save my sanity for the future when everything goes crazy in August. A little preemptive strike here, right? But yeah, thank you, Jacobs, for your help hosting. Alan, for sharing. Keith, all of you, everything. So, I mean, everybody, this has been a pretty cool thing. I'm getting lots of great feedback from across all over the place. Team definitely put this together. Bryce and Anna, do you want to come? And Sam, do you guys want to come and wave, say hi? Make sure you stay 6 feet away and put your masks on so I don't get yelled
It's like
at.
the closing credits of Saturday Night Live. You know, you
Oh,
bring
yeah,
the whole crew out, right?
Yeah, so
We need G.E. Smith playing.
yeah, Sam. Yeah, there you go. And I've thanked enough people, and I'm done.
Hello to the masked raiders behind the
Okay.
scenes. Thank you.
Yes.
It's
I don't have
awesome.
anything
Thanks.
left, folks.
See you all.
Yep. Take care. I guess. Hold on.